should not try float therapy without consulting your doctor first. I'm going to be just talking about my own personal experiences. I did a lot of research about float therapy before trying it and made sure that it was safe for me, but that is something you should do as well, because certain individuals should not do float therapy. So please, please, please do your research before trying anything to help support your stress. So one of the reasons why I really wanted to try float therapy is because I find that my nervous system gets very overstimulated very easily, especially at work. And I know a lot about the sensory system and how our sensory system impacts our health. And I wanted to try what it would look like if I removed all sensory input for a little bit. Sensory input, how it would affect my stress and sleep. So I gave it a shot, and I do have to say, it is very interesting, a very interesting experience, and I'm looking forward to sharing risky business. But that's just the way it works sometimes. So I started my float, and I closed the door, obviously, on this isolation tank, and I changed the light to a red color. I think most people probably turn their light off. I actually keep mine on because it is very dark in there. is they